Hey everybody, this is another anime reaction. Just recently watched Peacemaker, which if you aren't familiar with it, it's a historical fiction anime that is based off of a manga series. I can't remember the exact author's name, but easily look it up. But it's a basically like a samurai piece, very similar to Rurouni Kenshin. If you watch that, and if you're familiar with Rurouni Kenshin, that's pretty epic. But this is a lot shorter, 26 episodes long. Um, I just watched it. It's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. I had a few little things about it, but I'll talk about that later. For the most part, the story revolves around these two brothers that join this Shinsengumi, which is kind of this police squad in Kyoto at the time, and it's set around the Tokugawa shogunate near the end, about the time where the Meiji period begins and the Tokugawa government collapses. That's roughly the time period in the historical context. But anyway, story revolves around a boy named Tetsunosuke, excuse me, and Tatsunosuke, and they're two brothers, and they join up. And the younger of the two, Tetsu, is kind of this. He's like 15, and he's really wild and wants to take revenge, and his family was killed, and wants to do all that. And his older brother's always having to try to keep him in check, and he's more level-headed and control. And so they join this group, and of course this group is made up of all these swordsmen and things like that. But the younger of the two, Tetsu, who's the main character, he gets basically demoted as the page of one of the vice commanders of this group. And so you basically follow his hijinks and what he learns along the way and these interactions with all these characters. And it primarily takes place around a certain incident that's going on within the capital, because it's set in Kyoto, which I kind of like. Of course, most historical pieces are either set in Kyoto or Edo, depending on the situation. Japanese history is pretty ripe with good content, and as I've come to find out, did a little more research on this anime, but there are a lot of elements that are based on real historical people. Now they're loosely based, such as one of the vice commanders is a real prominent character in Japanese fiction. He's often had many portrayals in anime, and this is just one of them. To me, the overall feel of the anime was pretty decent. Animation was good. It was done in the early 2000s. It definitely had kind of a realistic styling to some of it, not all of it. And to go along with that, it looked really nice. The character designs were pretty good. Everyone had their own personalities, the motions. There wasn't any choppiness or anything like that I detected anything that seemed really annoying visually. To me, it felt a pretty good portrayal. As for my qualms for the anime series, the main character, Tetsu, like I said before, he's supposed to be 15. The way he's drawn and portrayed is almost like he's 12 or 11. It was probably done on purpose because he has a very childlike attitude. And again, he has this kind of inferiority complex throughout the whole series. He's like short, and they call him a puppy, basically, a whelp, a dog. And of course, he gets offended and everything, and he's got to do all these menial labor things. It's something you find common in other anime that I've seen. But for the most part, the one reason I liked it is it had a bit of historical accuracy to it. You also have a pretty interesting antagonist, and you have relationships between the enemies and the Shinzengumi, who are the kind of good guys. Nobody's really good or bad. There's elements to everybody, I think, that kind of make them questionable. But as I did come to find out, I said this is based on a historical event. And so the great thing was, after I watched it, I was able to go and research all these historical figures. And I come to find out that they're real people, and so that was kind of nice. I think this was my first anime where I think I could actually go back and look at historical characters and look back and see how their actual historical figures compared. And there were surprisingly little details in what I was reading that fit in that they incorporated into this anime, such as one character in there apparently had tuberculosis, and throughout the anime you get hints that he's got some kind of respiratory illness, but they don't really hint at that, and so it kind of makes you want to research and figure out more. Now, I will say that is one part of the anime that I think falls short, is the fact that they don't explain as much of the plot and characterization as they could, because they may assume that those reading it already know a bit about the history of the real characters, the real people who are being portrayed. See, and that's kind of, to me, that can kind of fall flat. I will say the pace of it felt pretty good for a while. It did get very intense near the end, but I will say, for me, the climax happened. The timing of the climax is very strange, and I won't get into what the climax is. But I will say the ending left me a little like wanting. It left me wanting more, but it also left me kind of going, "Is that it, really?" So, I don't know if I would recommend this anime to everybody. To me, like I said, I'm into history. I do love learning history and anything like that, but the one thing that is nice about this anime is it kind of opened my eyes to this historical period in Japanese culture and these real people. So that kind of sparked my interest. But, as a fictional story, you do have some very powerful elements in it. The characterization, some of them are very good. The main character, though, Tetsu, is one of these really annoying characters. It's really hard to like him because he seems to be whining and crying, and I know other people have had complaints about that because he seems to just be a brat, and they call him a brat and things like that, and he does do some endearing things, and there was a small little romance between him and this other girl. But my problem is, the way they portray young people in this, and even the girl he's being, he has a thing for, she looks like she's 8 or 9 or something like that. So the way the ages are portrayed to me is kind of odd, and it may be more a stylistic thing. If you want to correct me on that, you can. But for me, it felt like it could be done better. I will say, historically wise, as far as like samurai anime go, this is probably not my favorite one. But I will say, like I said again, the historical accuracy of the events in the anime to me were quite impressive. That part of it I did enjoy thoroughly. I would say if you're really into historical animes, this is kind of my first real taste of one, other than maybe a few other loosely based on Oda Nobunaga and things like that. But other samurai pieces, this one to me kind of surprised me in that aspect. Again, there's a good amount of humor. I did wish they fleshed out a little bit more of character and things like that. There's some allusions to things that you get pieces of, but you always kind of feel like there's pieces missing. And to me, that's probably the biggest flaw of the series. It didn't feel like a complete series. It is based on the manga. Now, the manga may go into it more. I don't know. If any of you have read it, you'll have to let me know. But for the most part, it was a pretty decent watch. I probably wouldn't put it on a real high list for me, particularly just based on the story. But if you're really into, samurai things, again, if you're really into the historical fiction, this is probably the thing, because you could probably pick up on things that I may have missed the first time and had to go back and look up. But aside from that, Peacemaker, if you're into the historical stuff, it's kind of a nice break from what I've been watching recently. Go for it. If not, I would, and if you don't like annoying main characters, I would probably say do not watch this anime. It depends on how annoying you can take. how your main character is going to be. But for the most part, for me, it was pretty decent. Again, I said it felt like there were pieces missing to it, but that's kind of it for my reaction to the Peacemaker anime. But if you have any comments or questions, you can always write down what you want. This is just my little reaction to it. So if you want to watch it and make your own judgment, go right ahead. It's about 26 episodes long, I believe. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.